Joe Biden, here's another inept leader that the media can no longer protect. Even CNN is now reporting on Biden meeting with his dodgy son's business partners whilst he was vice president. We've known that since 2020, but CNN is finally reporting it after a horror week for the president, where we've learned that on at least 4 occasions his lawyers located classified documents he's not supposed to have. The FBI is treating Biden very differently to other similar breaches, but despite the protection racket from the FBI and the Justice Department, the American people want accountability. A new poll shows that around 2/3 of Americans favour Congress investigating the classified documents found at President Biden's home and post-vice presidential office. And that includes a majority of Democrats, surprisingly, 52% of Democrats. Douglas, only 16% of Americans oppose such an investigation. Will Biden survive this? Will he be the candidate in 2024?
I think not. I think there's a very interesting story here. I think that it shows, he was very critical of Donald Trump after the Mar-a-Lago raids. Either it's clear what classified documents are or it isn't. And if it isn't clear, then maybe that explains why Donald Trump had them and Joe Biden had them and had them sitting around in one of his garages beside one of his cars and in a think tank that he runs that no one knew he had, and at his office, at his home, and so on. But I think it is actually clear. It should be very clear that a document with top secret on it, for instance, briefings about relations with Britain, Ukraine, Russia, China, and more, shouldn't be just left around in the garage. So here's what I think is going on, Rita. I think this is a Democrat. If you look at the sources that this has been leaked to, I think this is an internal Democrat effort to stop Biden running in the next presidential election. Yes. There are a lot of Democrats who want to get him out of the way. He would be in his mid-80s at the end of his next term. He's, plenty of people in their early 80s and mid-80s are sprightly, but Joe Biden ain't among them. And so I think it's an internal Democrat effort to get him out of the way now. The big question then for the party is what they replace him with, because the bench is not a good one.
It is a very shallow talent pool indeed. And you're right, this initial discovery was made before the midterms, but nobody knew about it until the midterms were done and dusted, and then the convenient leak comes around. And also, what do you think about the FBI's handling of this? The fact that they didn't even opt to be there when Biden's lawyers were looking at these documents. You would think that would be, at a minimum, what they would do, given that they raided Trump's residence.
Yeah, and I think a lot of Americans are just going to be unhappy about that double standard, simple double standard. Yes, Biden's lawyers have been discovering this, among other things. Biden's house hasn't been raided by the FBI. Biden reassured a press conference earlier this week that he said to Steve Doocy of Fox, who actually managed to get in a question to the president. That's very rare these days. He actually gets one and answers one. The president assured the American people that it wasn't like the top secret documents had just left by his car in the street. They'd actually been left in a car that was locked in a garage. And as you and I know,
that's okay then. That's okay then.
Chinese or anyone else can get into a locked garage. I mean, that's the last thing they can do. And of course, this was also in the house where his son Hunter was living. And of course, as we know, Hunter wouldn't ever be any security threat at all, because he's always been in the right state of mind. So actually, I think that a lot of Americans think there's a double standard here. The FBI raided Melania Trump's closet, and day by day we discover Biden's people handing over top secret documents that just happen to be sitting by the car in the garage that the Chinese can't get into, but Hunter Biden can. So I think that a lot of people will dislike this double standard. As I say, either it's clear what are top secret documents or it's not. And if it is clear, then I think people will just want fairness in the treatment of the 2 candidates who've been found breaking these rules.
Absolutely. Unlike Donald Trump, Vice President Biden wasn't able to declassify any of those top secret documents. Douglas Murray, always a pleasure. Thank you for joining me tonight.
Pleasure as always. Thank you.